Hey, it's Odd Music episode number 366. Hey, 300 more episodes. We can have episode number 666.
Oh, we might have to skip that one.
Oh, it'll be the best episode ever.
Can't be the guest.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have oh God, what am I going to she does My Little Demons in that, and she's always at booth 666 at Gen.
Oh yeah, yep.
So Heather,
Yep.
she loves that. So it sounds like she had a good show. She was down there in Gen Con. She always does a new plushie every year now for them, and the Genevieve, one of her little demon ponies. And it sounds like they had to get line control and tickets involved.
Oh wow,
well, I was like, good for her. I love hearing that. So
I felt like there were a couple of years there where it felt like everything was so down for her.
She's had a lot of those, but the problem is a couple of the shows. Like I know she does the one in Pittsburgh there, it's Steel City, and they just do too many shows, and I think that it's tough to have. I think it's because such the same thing, and too many people see all the time, and then it's like, oh, well, we'll see them next time. We'll get something next time, or not get something at all. We're just used to seeing it, so now we don't have to buy anything because we can just visit the collection.
Yeah, conventions, and we've talked about this in the past. The strength of conventions is less is more. And it becomes an event where people will drive. Back in the day, it was very common to hear, oh, this is my first convention of the year. I drove 4 hours to be here. I saved up all year for this day. It was an event for people, and they showed up and spent. Now it's like the mall, like we talked about, where people are just window shopping. They're hanging out. They're just walking around.
And then you also get the other ones that just come out because they hear about it, that it is their first show, but they just want to check out the freak show.
Yeah, and they're not there to spend, which you have that right. You're there for fun, but just know all of those vendors and artists and everybody there set up. We're spending 10 times more money to be there.
Oh yeah, easily.
Than the average person, and it's very expensive to set up and sell. So if you guys don't spend, we stop coming, and then there's no show. And that's the kind of the dirty secret that a lot of people, everyone wants to focus on the A-list celebrities, but it's the vendors who make the show. You do a celebrity signing by itself without the surroundings of a Comic-Con, they don't do nearly as well.
Right.
And so go out, support your artists, your vendors, your publishers, support those little guys, because there's no show without us.
Yeah. Well, and you can also support us on through our websites. You can see mine on there, brettmitson.com. I linked my store on there now, which current thing right now I have on there's just the Crimson Shadows, but I will be adding on some of the other titles I have based on what stock I have. So I'm just going to be selling the books, not going to sell any of the fan art on there.
Yep.
You know, I do have a tip jar, so if you like my stuff but you don't want to buy anything, tip me.
Money always accepted.
Yes. If people say, oh, I love your stuff, I ain't got wall space or I ain't got shelf space, guess what? Send me a tip. Stuff like that. So we'll have stuff on there for you too.
Money's all gonna be worthless in a couple years anyway, so just spend it now on us.
Yeah, you know what's funny? We'll talk about that, and then we'll get into your ad read real quick. Yeah, I get so you're talking about, you know, oh yeah, I'm paying cash for everything. I'm holding cash. Going, if things go south, your cash isn't gonna be worth wiping your butt with. No. And I love people telling you it's cash. You know, right now cash may be king, but not if the government shuts it down.
Nope. Look at your cash. It's not cash. It says very clearly Federal Reserve note.
Yeah,
a note is an IOU. The IOU is owed by the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is not a government entity. It's actually privately owned. So if they ever file bankruptcy, one of the first things that goes in a bankruptcy are the notes. They get written off and they owe you nothing or pennies on the dollar at best.
Exactly.
So if you want to hold on to your cash, spend it for real goods.
Yeah.
Because that, no matter what the dollar does, you have it.
Yes.
You have Crimson Shadows, Boomtown Scabs, Edgar Allan Poe, Macabre Massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have all that in your possession regardless of what currency is doing.
Yes. Because at the shows, we do take cash or card, and we'll be next at Tampa Bay Comic-Con. Look forward to that show. That's going to be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's awesome.
We head out there. We're going to be leaving on the 20th, so probably won't be there on the 21st. Be on for the 21st. We'll talk about that. We'll see what's going on.
What has it been like? 4 years since you've been there? 3 years?
3 years. We all went to the 2021. Feels longer, but and then after
I think 2019 was my last year.
Yeah, we did it in 21. No, you were with us in 21.
Was I? Okay.
Yes. And then because you were with because it popped up in my memories the other day because it was at the like end of July, beginning August because there was no San Diego. Timing worked fine. So we did that. And that's the last time Vinny and Lisa were there too, and they're gonna be back as well. And then we started doing that year Colorado, and then the last 2 years Colorado or Tampa Bay was right after San Diego, and it's just too hard to return. I mean, you've done it. But you're doing shows full time. It's one thing to try to do them back to back, but when you're also got day jobs and everything else, you can't do them back to back. It's not that easy. It's hard.
Even when I did back to back a while back there, I didn't have to worry about a day job. You know, my time was flexible enough, but it's exhausting.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think of all the shows, I take into account the combination of cost to be there, money made while there, but also the experience and everything of the show itself and the outside of the show. I think Tampa Bay might be my favorite show to do.
Yeah, I know a few years ago it wasn't as good, but the problem with that one is one of the other shows that takes place, and because everything's just open up, after Tampa announced it, they jumped in the weekend before.
Yeah, they
kind of screwed up the thing. And they're an anime con, but they talked about being a con, and they advertised it as a Comic Con coming in, and it confused people.
Was very confused. They were like, "Wait a minute, I thought you already had this," and it. So, yeah, I hate when shows do that where they set up these shows like purposely to ruin another show.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we see that with the growth of the number of Comic Cons, it's become their business model they want to make money at the show, but then they want to try to put other cons out of business. And the problem is they're not doing that; they're just all hurting themselves.
Wizard was doing it. Is Wizard even still around?
No, they got bought out by Fan Expo.
Oh, Fan Expo owns it.
Yeah,
okay.
Fan Expo bought them out. So there's no more Wizard Worlds at all. Fan Expo is worse. Fan Expo is worse than Wizard World though when it comes to Artist Alley setup. You know, you get your Artist Alley table, you have no location number that means anything. They put up barriers between the vendors and the Artist Alley to try to get there is confusing. So they do everything they can to ensure that artists don't make money unless you're in a specifically certain area that they have designated.
Yeah, these types of shows, in my opinion, I'll say Wizard since they're no longer around. They're the bane of the industry in my mind. They are glorified celebrity signings, but they know the dirty secret that we just mentioned is if you just do a celebrity signing show by itself, it doesn't do nearly as well. So we're the necessary evil. We're their cosplay. They put on a show, have all of us there, but they see us as competition. They milk the crowds of all their money before 90% of the money spent before they even walk through the door because of all the pre-sales.
Yep.
And then we're all starving. They charge us huge fees to be there. We subsidize the floor space for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we barely make anything because they shove us in a horrible spot, make sure the celebrities get all the attention, and we're all begging for scraps.
Yeah.
And it's just not good.
No, and that's why I don't do some of those shows anymore. We tried Chicago last year. It's hoping to have been better. Again, you had on the sides of it, you had the celebrities were cordoned off. The sides of the vendors, there's the aisle sides on the sides, went straight back. So they would cross through Artist Alley. But behind the vendors halfway through, before you get to Artist Alley, it was a big curtain that was so high that it blocked off anything behind it. So most people didn't see it was back there. I had a guy I know from here that was out there. He texted me, he goes, I'm trying to find you. I said, look for this, then look for this, then look for this, and you will find. He goes, if you hadn't told me, I never would have found you.
Yeah.
Janice, our good friend Janice, had a hard time finding us.
And how many times it's like middle of the day or end of the day Sunday. Oh, if I spent all my money and had I known you guys were here. Like, they're even just finding us after they've spent everything.
Yeah. And if they would do better, all they have to do different is I didn't mind the setup that we had in our side. There was actually room to move around, stuff like that. It wasn't as bad as that first MegaCon when they took over. But if Fan Expo would actually make them proper aisles, so people can come from the front to back through Artist Alley, and we actually have a designation of where, if you're in aisle 500, I got like 525, I can tell you exactly where I'm at. It'd be great. But they have zero respect for us. And they've even said many times to my face at different times that if they could get rid of Artist Alley, they would. They really don't like it because they can charge more for vendor space, but they know they can't get enough vendors to fill that space.
Right. So that's where we're the necessary evil.
Yeah.
But then, to be fair, too, as artists and vendors and everything, we can tell when it's a promoter who cares about us.
Yes.
And
there's a lot of shows that
set
do
up the show different, and there's so many like that too. Unfortunately, usually they're the smaller to mid-size shows. The mega shows, it's rare to have a mega show, but there are some bigger shows that do care.
Yeah. Well, the bigger shows, the reason I do them is the Imaginarium, which is now Fan X, which is Salt Lake City, Indiana, and Tampa, and they have a Georgia show as well, Atlanta. Yeah. I don't do the Atlanta one, but it's just timing on that one. But they actually have always cared, and we always have nice spots. We always have location numbers that make sense. They know where we're at. They don't kill us on the fees to be there. They don't kill the people walking in the door for fees, and they still get good celebrities. You don't have to have 100 celebrities all charging $100 or more to be there, and they still get like a good amount of celebrities. They'll get about 30 to 40 celebrities mixed between voice actors and other ones, and they get some high dollar ones. But I watch some of these people spend. It's like, oh yeah, I'd come buy your stuff. It looks really cool, but I just spent $2,500 on autographs. Oh, what'd you get, like 5?
Right.
And that's where they are now. So I look for, a couple times I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind getting something signed. I'm like going, oh my God, they're charging $100 now. And I'm like, it wasn't even just a couple of years ago. They were like $25.
Right.
And I think that the higher the price goes, they're still getting right now a lot of people that are doing it. As more people start, I can't afford to do that, and start slowing down. It's just like the cost of anything. I mean, they're overcharging because they want to make 10 times more money. But if you overcharge too much, people just stop buying, and then you're making less money in the long run because you're dealing and if less people. Somebody's like, well, I'd rather have less people. It's like, and still make the $100,000. I'm like going, yeah, but you'd probably make the $100,000, get more people through the door, and have better fan experience. So
right. Yeah, and I don't know if they were you know better the history of these things. So, but at least from my point of view, it felt like Wizard was kind of the start of that, where they were coming up with these mega celebrity contracts, where like MCU was just hitting big, and they have like 10 of the Avengers, and they would sign these mega contracts that were insane, guarantees with these stars. So then they bought out all these shows so that they could spread out that cost over like 10 shows in a year or 15 shows in a year.
Well, they were trying to do a show almost every 2-3 weeks, and
and
the other one was there was Ace Comic Con, and that was also an offshoot from Wizard because one of the guys that had top Wizard guys, they had a falling out, so he started his own, and he was, I think, the first one to get to all the major like Avengers and that stuff, and then they signed some contracts with Wizard, and they started bringing them out, and even then now we don't see them. We see some of those guys a little bit here and there. They still do some stuff, but not as much as it was then when it was at the height. But again, even then, people are like, we're dropping $700. They did the last Next Generation from Star Trek reunion. I saw one of those shows, which is Wizard. I think it was like $1,200 or $1,500. You got a photo with the cast. They basically have behind you. You go in, sit down, take a picture, go. And then I think you got an autograph, or you got a certain number of autographs, something like that. I forget what the deal was, because I was like, I'm not dropping that kind of money. But yeah, that's the other thing to do is it's all these big reunions, and they've gotten pretty high. And there's some. I was talking with same buddy in Chicago last year. I was talking to him last week because he works at one of the stores I go to, and he goes, yeah, I went to Chicago. They was doing a sports show, but Chevy Chase was there, and Chevy Chase had canceled the Chicago show last year because he was sick. So he'd gotten everybody else's autograph at that show on his poster for vacation. So he went there just to get his autograph on vacation because he says, I didn't want to miss out because I was supposed to see Shannon Doherty this next month in Chicago. And he goes, I missed her the last time because wait. Well, then she got sick and passed away. He's like, I just didn't want her to pass away. And that's where some of these people are. But at the same time, it's like, you see some of the prices, like even voice actors, there's some nice ones. I used to get for like $20-$30. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And they're all like $75-$80 and stuff like that now. And it's just high dollar. So it just gets a little pricey at those shows for everybody. So, but
yeah, it does.
You can get our trades from us. We got a nice one for $30. Come see us.
yeah, and it's good quality.
So what else you got going on, man? You got some.
Well, we've got
read?
real estate. I'll give a little shout out for real estate for me and Jill here. Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying and or selling experience, we never forget, at the core, it's still a people business. That's right. We treat you like a human being. Go figure. But thankfully, we've just been keeping busy. Today's actually closing day for one of our clients. We helped them buy a house. If you've been trying to find a house, in this market, it's hard to buy. Thankfully, our buyers, we've been able to secure deals through them with some creative structuring of our purchase agreements to make it very desirable to the sellers without milking every penny out of our buyers. So if you want some good strategies on how to buy a home in this crazy seller's market, give us a call, 586-232-5144. I posted our number there. That's our team hotline. You'll either get myself or Jill.
Excellent. So besides our own comics, I do still like to read comics.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to talk about this one real quick. This was really good read. I ended up picking up the first 2 issues out in San Diego, and I should have looked better. They may have had the trade already, though it doesn't officially come out till September. I didn't see any other issues, so I got it's a 6-issue limited series called here it is, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and it is about a serial killer bear. And the thing is, the interesting thing is they don't get into the world itself of why there's these anthropomorphic animals, and there's still wild animals like wild bears, stuff like that. I mean, they're going to like butcher shop and getting like we would. So they just made that instead of being humans, he made them bears. It's by Horvath is the last name of the person there. So basically, this is a great Dexter style read.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the basic premise is you got Samantha there as a bear. She realized when she's younger that she likes to kill, so she would go to the city, and she lives in a small town, go to the big city and find someone and kill them. And she's very precise, talks about that, and it's like a serial killer, and it's definitely freaky in terms of how it is, but if you like Dexter, you're going to really like this. And the reason I bring this up is I see they're trying to bring back Dexter again with a Dexter Resurrection. But I recommend, if you like comics, check out Beneath the Trees. I don't want to get too much into it because I think it's fun, but it's basically someone decides to start killing in her small town. So now she has to figure out who this person is because it's a serial killer style.
So, that's cool.
So that's the story of that. But I read all 6 issues in one night. I'd read the first 2 before, reread them, and then all the rest of them. It was really good, very well written. And definitely something that would make an interesting movie especially if they did it animated with the using the animals. Very a little cool. Watership Downish,
Yeah. Here's here, I'll share this along your thing there. There we go. Share and share. So that's the website there, Patrick Horvath.
Yes.
PatrickHorvath.com, and you can see. So it looks like they have a few different issues out.
Yeah, it came out last year. I missed it. I just didn't notice it at the comic book store, or they didn't have it. But it was. I just missed it. I was like, man, I wish I hadn't missed this. This was great. So.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
I always enjoyed the Dexter series. So I think the new one is a prequel, right? It's young. Well, it has to be because he's dead.
Well, there's a new one, but then they're talking about something else, and I don't know. I
think they're going to do it like following him in his younger years. I think is what I heard.
Yeah, and I think they're not always. I kind of think they're just trying too hard to bring it back.
Yeah,
sometimes a good show you just got to let it go. The problem is, I think is what's his name that played Dexter hasn't really done anything else much lately. So, yeah. So I don't know.
We'll see. He's tried to branch out, but sometimes, unfortunately, that's the part. The downside of success as an actor is when you finally get that role everyone remembers you for, but then everyone remembers you for, and then it's hard to get other roles. Yeah, and he's so iconic as Dexter. It's hard to see him as other things.
And his look is very just his way. His face is still just is very solid on that. But but yeah, Dexter was good. I watched through it initially and thought the ending kind of sucked originally, and the second series that they came back and did was a little bit better. But
they, just like we were talking about with Comic-Cons, less is more. Had they ended the series just like 3 minutes sooner, it would have been a good ending. Yeah. But then they added a scene that everyone's like,
again, that's really? Probably it was people that were I think it's always these producers that go, I don't think the people are going to understand that. The problem with these producers in TV and movies and that is they think the audience is just stupid.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's even, it's so far from the truth than it was even 30 years ago. Since there's so much content out there, people can watch so much stuff. They're watching everything, absorbing everything, and they understand more. They understand where things are going. A lot of times you can't even fool some people anymore because, they think, oh, I'll do this big trick. Oh, I knew it was going to happen by 5 minutes in because you did this, this, and this. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
So.
Well, we had news of another show, Orville, season 4.
Yeah, now it's not a fully official, but it's about as official as we're going to get right now because it was Scott Grimes at the Comic-Con, a Star Trek convention, saying they start filming in January.
Yeah, so I mean, I would think he would know.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't think it'd be something he would say unless it was sort of. I wonder if he was really meant to say it.
I have a feeling it was not meant to be publicized. I would think they would announce it a different way, but Scott Grimes said it, so.
That's been out. Yeah, it's hit all the news arts, stuff on that.
If anyone would know, it'd be one of the main actors who would have to open up their schedule to.
Well, and him and Seth MacFarlane are really good friends.
Yeah.
And he just did the Ted series with him.
Yeah.
Which was really good. I liked it. I thought it was a great prequel version of Ted.
You know what I forgot about Scott Grimes? I happened to catch an old episode of ER. I forgot he was on ER as one of the doctors or whatever.
Yeah, he's popped up in a lot of stuff over the years. He was a really good character actor, popping up in different shows. Now he's a singer too. He can sing. So when you do see him singing in the Orville, that's actually him. So, yeah, as Kevin says, please give us season 4. Yes.
Yeah. Well, no details have been given, right? So we don't know if it's through Hulu or some other platform. I would assume Hulu, though.
Yeah, I would assume that too. I do know that they're in the Hulu news as a little sidebar. Disney may have to pony up another $5 billion to finish the complete acquisition from Comcast of the Hulu platform. So even though they've merged it into the Disney Plus app, it still has a separate app, which they're still running. And then I read today that they may have to another $5 billion. I think it has to do because of content and things like that.
Okay.
So it's all that legal mumbo jumbo stuff.
But with Disney trying to get new subscribers and stuff, I could see that being. Orville has a solid fan base, so
I think so. I think it'd be really good. And I think that what we would see is if they start filming in January, I could see a presence at Comic-Con and it getting released sometime after that.
Yeah, maybe fall of 2025.
Yeah, I think if they're gonna do it, it's not gonna be like a year and a half afterwards. It's gonna be like, okay, we're gonna film in January, do how many episodes they're doing. I would assume if they're gonna do it, it's probably anywhere from like 10, maybe 13.
Yeah.
It'll be another season, and then
well, if it's anything like season 3, there's gonna be a lot of great special effects added, and they really did a good job in season.
Well, they were doing like half movies pretty much. They were all
an
hour, over an hour long. So
yeah, and they really expanded that universe during season 3.
Yeah, they really made it. They went away from doing a lot of the humor and trying to be more humorous, like in the first season, to still having humor but adding a little more seriousness to it to actually make them better stories.
Yeah.
So I personally really loved it.
Achieved Star Trek quality level, I think.
Yeah, getting the extra money from Disney for that last season, and that was after the 20th Century Fox buyout. Really allowed them to do something better. You could really see it in how everything was done. The setups, the scale of everything was really much bigger and grander. But definitely, I just love the fact that they I think they would do 9 or 10 episodes that season.
Sounds right.
Yeah, they did less, but being that they were all like an hour long.
Right, they did less, but bigger episodes.
10 episodes, and I'd take another 10 episodes at an hour a piece, That's 10 more hours of a good show. This was, the Orville was the best Star Trek show to come out until Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
And then, I think between those two shows come out, I like that Orville definitely has a feel of Star Trek, but it's not exactly Star Trek. It's got a mix of a bunch of. It's got like Star Trek, a little Babylon 5 in there.
What's funny is a lot of times the best Star Trek is not Star Trek, like Galaxy Quest.
Well, yeah.
That's another one everyone wants a sequel to.
Well, and they've talked about doing a series based on that. And personally, it's one of those things now. It's been 25 years, so Leave that one alone. I think
if they did it though, since Tim Allen was kind of doing a Shatner type captain, we have older Shatner captains, so he could do a spoof on the older Shatner.
he could, and then
have Shatner in it too. Though we gotta have Shatner in there.
Yeah,
he could be the big bad guy.
Yeah,
he's actually an alien.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody would be real surprised at that one and be like, this is too hokey. But no, I think that Galaxy Quest as it is I wouldn't want to see a sequel at this point now, personally.
It'd be hard to top what they did. And what they did was so fluke. They weren't expecting it to reach the kind of status it got.
No, I mean it was. I remember when it came out, people were like, "Really? It looks like Star Trek." I'm like, "That's the point." He's at a Star Trek convention, and he's got the fanboys and all this other stuff. And
did you?
Go ahead.
Did you ever see at a Comic-Con? I think it was Riker was talking about when he saw Galaxy Quest. He saw it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And he absolutely loved it and hurried up and called Patrick Stewart and said, "You got to go see this. It's the best I've ever seen." And Patrick Stewart went out and saw it at the theater, and they just absolutely loved it. They're like, they nailed it. It was so perfect.
Yeah, it was.
They had life from that side of the aisle there of being on the convention scene.
Yeah, and back in '99, it made like $90.7 million. So it wasn't like a huge hit, but even back then, that was still a pretty solid number.
Yeah, it was more of a VHS
cult afterwards.
Yeah.
DVD hits, and it was going nuts, and then everything else. And it's one of those ones that doesn't get shown a lot. I don't see it probably like, gosh, what's going on? I'll find it once in a while streaming on like Prime or something like that. I own it, of course, but but yeah, I mean, I think now with the way the Orville is, without being a parody, it is an homage to classic sci-fi like Star Trek. It incorporates several different things. But I think that's the way to go right now. And Galaxy Quest, I don't think I'd want to see. Like I said, only because it's not because they're all older. They are. Alan Rickman's gone, so we wouldn't have the same character. I think if they were to do anything Galaxy Quest-ish, it'd have to be a complete handoff to a whole new generation. And 25 years later, you can kind of do that. But Galaxy Quest is still, not just because we're talking about it, but it does get mentioned a lot in different eras. So
yeah. Although with Galaxy Quest, since the whole premise was aliens are real and they were watching movies, you could even expand Galaxy Quest by having it be a different franchise, like maybe Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica, and the aliens grew up watching that and they thought we were real for Battlestar Galactica. And then you see that kind of cast, or who knows what, or Westerns.
I wouldn't want to go too much. I think it'd be a little too redundant at that point.
Yeah.
I think the beauty was that if they did anything with Galaxy Quest, you'd almost want to do a serious show called Galaxy Quest and base it on what the original show was supposed to be. But at that point, we have the Orville. That's so right. It's one of those things. I think doing another Galaxy Quest, which they've talked about, I think it just would not. It wouldn't. I don't think there's anything that could make it play right that would work. I mean, if the aliens came back because they took off with the ship, and they find Tim Allen's character and he's old, and we're like, "Oh my God, you're old! What happened?" And they all look the same. Of course, they wouldn't, because some of those guys are now, or they get different aliens, stuff like that. So I just think it's good to leave it as is, and that's why I like. And it's too much of, we have to do a sequel to this. It's too old to do a sequel. Oh, we got to do it, and most of them just bomb because one is they're afraid of the humor if it's humor based. Two is just like they don't know how to handle it because it's like, well, what do we do now? It's like I love like Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 1, a great film. Came out like 45 years ago or something like that. A couple of years ago, they had the sequel Part 2 on Hulu, and it was this miniseries. I got literally only 15 minutes into the first thing, and I shut it off. It wasn't funny. They weren't even. It's like they weren't even trying to be funny. It just was not good humor. It wasn't well written. Even though Mel Brooks signed off on it, he's kind of like, I'm getting paid, and I'm 98 years old. It's like, I just was very disappointed in that. I just don't want to see that.
Well, like with Galaxy Quest, that was written as a single movie. It's a complete story in of itself. So to do a sequel is to shoehorn story into it now and force it. Star Wars the movie was shot to be a standalone movie if it needed to be, but he wrote the full story written was for episode 4 through 6. And then with the backstory being the prequel. So it was intended to be a larger story. So it flowed nicely because you didn't have to shoehorn.
Yeah, he had the notes for it all. He
Yeah.
had already planned out some ideas, stuff like that.
Right. So that's the key, is if you're designing it for a much grander story, it works. If you never intended it to be, just to force it, it comes across shallow.
Yeah.
So,
and unfortunately, yeah, that a little too much,
Yeah.
So, but we got a lot of other things coming out this week. I believe Umbrella Academy is dropping pretty soon for the final season.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that wraps up.
Yeah, it's final season. And let's see, Game of Thrones just had their finale. I haven't watched the finale yet.
Yeah,
been enjoying the season as a whole. It sounds like, from what I read online, a lot of people are disappointed with this finale. I don't know if it ends on a cliffhanger or what, but we'll see. But it's in the middle.
Yeah, what I saw was because I'm not watching, so I'm way behind on this whole season, so I haven't watched it. But it sounds like it's definitely for some of the hardcore Game of Thrones fans are a little upset how they're tying something in or something like that.
Yeah, so I'll see it once I get caught up. So we got that, and they did announce season 4 will be the last season for Dance of Dragons or House. What is it? House of Dragons. Whatever.
This is only the second season, right?
This is second, so there's 2 more seasons.
Okay, well that's good. Then they know where they're going with it.
Yeah. So
which I like that. I like when they are able to announce that. That's like Evil. It's kind of they were filming this season and they were heading towards a finale. I think they were looking at one more season after this, but they're going to do like 4 more episodes. We got like 2 more left for this season, and then I think there's a little break. Then to do the 4 will show. Yeah. But even the way things were going this season, you could tell they were heading towards the big finale.
Correct.
And I think there's going to be one more season of that.
Was that one supposed to be 5 seasons? But
I think so.
It to 4, and they're giving them like a movie or some bonus.
It's like 4 episodes they're doing afterwards. And they're all. So it's like 4 hours of content they'll be able to tie everything up that they want to do. But they're getting there. They're pretty close right now, so you can see it and stuff like that. So I'm liking that one. I did watch this show here. Put it on Netflix, and it's The Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
Oh, okay.
6-episode BBC style miniseries. The main girl starring in that is Emma Myers. You know her from Wednesday. She plays Wednesday's friend.
Oh, that's who she is.
Yep.
Yes.
Really good. It was a fun little series. They had some good little twists as it went through everything. She's basically investigating the murder of a classmate or someone she knew when she was younger. And so it was a little older. And everybody thinks it was this one kid that killed her. That was her boyfriend. And she thinks that it wasn't because she knew who he was. He was always really nice. It makes sense. And then she starts investigating, and then things start unfolding. A lot of other stuff starts coming out. So she starts basically digging up the dirt on a lot of other people unintentionally. So, 6 episodes worth a watch. Probably won't watch it again, but it's definitely worth a watch once through. And she's really good. I like her. She's a good actress. I think she's got some potential through some other series down the road besides just Wednesday and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. She's done a bunch of other stuff too. So
yeah, we've been still watching Your Honor. It's on Netflix. Season 1 and 2 is available on there. I think we're in the final. We're either 1 or 2 episodes away from the finale of season 1. We've really been liking it. I have to say though, the way Bryan Cranston's character is written and the scenarios, I feel like this is multiverse Walter White. Like he acts just like Walter White and how he gets into things and the collateral damage and all that. So I feel like I'm watching Breaking Bad, which isn't a bad thing because I enjoy Breaking Bad.
And it's probably intentional because again, it's one of those things where producers and writers they say, hey, I like this guy in this. We need to do that. We'll do it in a whole different scenario, but they still write it the same way.
Yeah, so thoroughly enjoying it. Actually, if I remember right, what's the guy who does one of the Doctor Who guys, I think, writes Your Honor. Let's see, Your Honor writer. I think, was that... trying to find who Bryan Cranston...
Well, it's Peter Moffat. Peter Moffat's the creator,
Creator, Moffat. So he's involved. Good. Yeah, he does a good job. So, and there's no timey-wimey stuff in this one.
Yeah, and he's done, besides Doctor Who, he's done a bunch of other stuff. He was
He
a
does a lot.
creator on Silk. He did Criminal Justice.
He did the BBC Sherlock series too, right? Was that Moffat or was that the other one?
I think it was the other one.
Other one, okay.
Yeah, and that he did like a TV movie based on Hawking. So I mean, he's done a bunch of stuff in that. And did Moffat do it? Let me see. He was producer. I keep on thinking. It's funny. I'm looking at his credits. I'm going, okay, where's Doctor Who at? I don't see Doctor Who. I guess Moffat was part of Doctor Who.
Yeah, wasn't he? Or is there another Moffat?
Could be.
Is there two? Always two. There are.
Yeah, always two. Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff though. I recognize though. So, but I don't know.
Let's see.
Maybe
Doctor Who. So Stephen Moffat, is it Stephen Moffat?
Stephen, that's who it is. Yeah. So Stephen Moffat. Peter Moffat's a different guy.
Oh.
I wonder if they're related.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought it was the Doctor Who Moffat.
Yeah, so live for a minute there, and I'm going, wait a minute, yeah, that's Stephen. So
we could do a version of the Muppets, but with all the different Moffats out there as puppets, writing their stories.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no relationship between those two. It's just
no relationship.
Okay, so it just throws you off. Hey, Moffat's here. Well, this is why it's a good example why you don't have people with the same names in the same movie and TV show.
Right.
So yeah, so we're both wrong.
It's been really fun to watch. So if you like Breaking Bad, give Your Honor a check. There's rumors of maybe a season 3 down the road. It's written as 2 seasons though, so who knows if season 3 will be done or not.
The only thing I saw on that was Cranston said he didn't want to come back for a full season, but I think he'd come back to hand it off. So
yeah, that would work. So
yeah,
so we'll see where that goes, but it's fun. Good show.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I haven't already watched a lot of other stuff this week. I've been putting on movies because I've been working every day, dealing with other issues, and then
yeah,
and so I stuff I put on at night, stuff I know I can fall asleep to, or if I did watch, like I said, watching that Good Girl thing, I was like, okay, I stayed awake for that, but I took like 3 nights to get through 6 episodes. That's not hard. It's 2 hours a night. I ended up rewatching the first Deadpool movie.
Oh,
I did put the second one on, but I fell asleep, so I'll have to rewatch that one again. It's funny though, it's from the first one to the second one, the differences in the suit. You can see how the suit looked. We loved the suit in the first movie we first saw it, but now it looks cheap compared to the second movie and now the third movie, of course.
Yeah.
So in that, but it's going back and rewatching, I was like, yeah, it still holds up. It was still fun. It still worked. I still like everything it did. And
so rewatching it now back to back with the new version, which is now Disney / Marvel, did it feel different or did it feel the same?
Oh no, it felt the same because he was able to still tell all the jokes he wanted to. They kept it rated R for this last one, and I did like at the beginning of the second movie because I watched before I fell asleep. Watched the beginning of that, and making fun of Logan. Well, you had to be rated R too because of blah 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 blah, and I did it. And
now
and then I forget though that in the first movie, through the second one, he's making fun of Hugh Jackman a bunch of different times. Like the mask he has under his mask at the end is Hugh Jackman's face, and so he's been wanting that team up forever. So so I think that's why the third movie works when you watch all 3. If you watch all 3 together, they fit and they work fine because the humor's the same. They kept the story going. The break between the second movie and the last movie, they talked a little bit about that between his relationship, and with the girl and where he was living, all the stuff that was going on at the beginning, and then going through everything and how he still wanted the same thing, which was he just wanted to be with the girl. That's really all these movies were, as Deadpool wanted to be with his girl.
Right.
So, but I liked it. I'll rewatch the second one again when I'm more awake, and it's still funny. I like the different stuff on that. I love the action sequence though in the first one though, with jumping off the bridge and everything else. Now, and the animatic one they did was actually really good. So,
well, tied into that, in this promotional tour, I forget who does it. I can't remember if it's Variety or whoever does it. They sponsor it, but they'll hook up the celebrity to a lie detector machine and ask questions of them. And so Hugh Jackman was asking the questions, and Ryan Reynolds is tied to the machine. And Hugh Jackman asks, with the original animatic release that got leaked during San Diego Comic-Con, was that Ryan Reynolds that leaked it? And so he said, he was hesitant to say, but he said, "I gave the assist. I was the I was the Scottie Pippen to the Michael Jordan." So he said, "I assisted with the leak."
Right.
And that's all he would say. And the lie detector said he was telling the truth. So, which we all theorized it was really Ryan Reynolds all along that leaked it.
Well, yeah, and it was the way they did it was just hilarious because, it was like, oh, this just got released right around Comic-Con time. It was like, oh,
yeah, which was a brilliant marketing move because everyone signed in to check it out.
Yeah,
because it really spread like wildfire when you have like 500,000 people all in one place, all hearing the rumor that it just got leaked.
Oh yeah, it got leaked and it was on the internet and it was like my phone started blowing up. Like, did you see? Did you see? I was like, yeah. And I watched it. Like, oh my god, that's awesome! They got to do this. Yeah, and it was like it's a fan film. It's like, yeah, technically, but he paid for it. He paid to have that done.
Yeah. We all knew what it was. It was the advertising for it. It was like the hardcore pitch.
It was such a great way to go because it's the version of Deadpool he always wanted to play.
Yep.
Not the one he did in the other movies. It's
yeah, no one liked that one, even him.
Yeah, he just did it. He loved the character in that. So,
and he even killed that character off in his time jump at the end of
second one.
Second movie.
Yeah, which I thought was great. He had that time that set that up for the to basically do the last thing where they paid homage to the 20th Century Fox and killed it off, and so time jumped and took care of everything. So,
yep.
Of course, this movie gets promotion everywhere. I did buy a Deadpool bottle of aviation gin. And then I just saw, and because I can't have it shipped here to Michigan, I haven't bought it. But I'm not going to because I'm not going to spend the money today. But they have a really cool looking. It's got it carved in the Wolverine design for the Wolverine version of the aviation gin.
That's cool.
So I was like, that's kind of neat. So it's one of those dumb things you buy because you're like, I think it just looks cool. It says Deadpool.
Another thing with the whole promotion of this, people do these videos where they'll show the various years and what the actor was doing in those years, and it will tell you what their value was during those years. So you see how their growth has been. And they did one with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in it. So every year it compares their growth. Now, Hugh Jackman obviously has done well for himself as an actor, but Ryan Reynolds, because he's been investing in companies, in cell phones and gin and all these different things, he has really skyrocketed in value these last 10 years. Like, it's amazing. He's like 5 or 8 times more than Hugh Jackman. And it's because of all these investments he's doing.
Right. And that's the thing is a lot of these celebrities that are really they're worth a lot of money. It's not all about making the money at the movies. Most of them are not going to as much. Right. So you've got like that. Gosh, who was it? There's a couple of the rappers and all that stuff. Got even 50 Cent. He had bought into one of the energy drinks. Vitamin water, yeah. And he made a ton of money in that, but still went bankrupt because he spent his money, blew his money. But otherwise, I mean, you see different ones. They find out, they invested in this when it was low. They had a chance, and they were smart enough to jump all over it. I don't know what Snoop Dogg's invested in everything. I know he's getting paid some big money to be over at the Olympics.
Snoop Dogg is everywhere.
Yeah, Martha Stewart, though, I think consulted him several years ago, and they became friends, and his whole brand changed. And for him to be at the Olympics, it's been a huge thing. And he literally is hitting all the events as much as he can because he's supporting all the teams.
Well, one of his nieces, I think it's niece, it's a relative, is in the Olympics. It's an athlete.
Okay.
And so I believe he got involved because he was backing her to help her get through this. And he just it's just taken off. He's involved with he's everywhere there now.
Right. Well, I did read, so it sounded like NBC's paying him like $500,000 a day.
Yeah.
As promotional stuff. Because everything he's doing is all NBC endorsed and everything else. But I will say this, he's helped several of the athletes out financially. You had Flavor Flav did the same. Flavor Flav, I think it was the women's what is it, the synchronized swimming or some of those events like that. He paid for them all to get there, and he's there supporting them in that. And there's been a couple others. One of the female shot putters, she said, I guess she posts on, I guess, her Twitter account, I just got my financial aid stuff, and now my apartment's not going to be paid for. I'm going to be not sure I'm going to do this because I'm going to be, I'm going to have to continue college and pay for my rent. So he stepped up with somebody else, and they paid for like her next year of rent. Stuff like that. And I love seeing these guys do that because a lot of it's just coming out after the fact. They're not saying, hey, I'm doing this, Rush, we write a check. They're just doing it and it's coming out afterwards. And it's nice to see these guys support these people supporting. They're going for their dreams, and it's neat to see that step up. So I think it's cool.
Let's see. Is this it? I'm trying to figure out which relative it is. I forget now. Anyways, maybe it was basketball. I don't know. Anyway, somebody was related to him. But
it's possible. I hadn't seen anything on that. I know he's been just everywhere.
Yeah.
So
he has been everywhere. That's for sure. Yeah, so that's cool.
And I know he's got his part. Yeah, and he's got his family there too. So he's
he's really figured out how to cross genre himself.
He's now become not just the rapper that he is and performer. He's definitely become more of a full entertainer.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, you see posts on different things from people saying, my mom's just absolutely loving that Snoop Dogg's at the Olympics. I had to remind her that she grounded me for a month for buying his CD.
Right.
And of course, the big thing is he carried the torch and it looks like a giant blunt.
Right.
So it's cool that they're actually trying to, and it's more than just getting paid to be there in that. So they're actually going to the events. He's hitting events every day.
Yeah.
I think the funny one, they had video of him watching the equestrians and him with Martha Stewart, and he's all dressed up. And he's like, oh, he's like on an LBC. He's prancing. So he starts prancing like the horse. I'm like having a good time. It's bringing a lot of that to the forefront. A lot of people aren't, I think, is paying attention as much to Olympic sports as they were. And
right.
And that, and I don't get to watch a lot of it because it's mostly during the day that I'm gone. So, but a little bit I've watched has been decent coverage. So better than what it used to be when they were trying to get us to pay for everything. And we're like, nah, screw that. I'll just catch the highlights. So. Well, yeah. So that's about what I've got going on this week. So 2 weeks from now, we'll be headed down to Tampa Bay Comic-Con. I'll let you know. I may not be on next week.
Okay.
I'll let you know about that too, because we are waiting for confirmation. I may have a chance to go to the Lions practice in the VIP tent.
Ooh.
So if I do, I'll have to give you guys a fill in that a couple weeks later.
Sneak your phone in and get some undercover video.
I think I can take my phone. I don't think I have a problem with that.
Although, Hulk Hogan was just there. Maybe you can do a promo with Dan Campbell. I mean, he did it for Hogan. So.
Yeah. Hey, you want me out of music? Our 8 listeners want to hear it from you.
That's right.
So, but if I get a chance to go there, I'll let you know for sure, and let you know what's going on there. And
that'll be very fun. That's cool.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, or if the weather's bad, then I will be back on the air. So that's all gonna be contingent on a few things there.
Yeah,
so
everything I'm hearing on sports radio leading into the season, a lot of optimism for the Lions this year. I feel like it's a pretty, it's a consensus. I feel like that they had a really good offseason. So, and that they're a better team this year than they were last year. So I'm excited for the season.
I think it's I think the key is that they've got people that want to be there. They got people that want to play, that want to win, and they're not just collecting a check anymore like we had for so many years.
Right.
And I tell people, for me personally, it's when they hired Dan Campbell after the ownership changed. She hired Dan Campbell. He came in here and said, I'm going to work hard. I want to win. And it wasn't the same old stuff you hear from coaches, and he says, I'm putting in the work too. And he's a physical guy. And then
he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's huge. Well, Hogan standing next to him looks small.
Yeah. Because
he is a big guy.
Yeah. And then when they drafted Hutch, Hutch came and said, I'm a local guy. I've always wanted to play for the Lions and I want to win here. I don't want to go anywhere else. So this isn't about, somebody saying I'm going to play good enough to go somewhere else to try to win one. He wants to win it here. And, so I think that's the key there. I mean, they're starting tomorrow night's preseason. They're playing the Giants. They're out there this week doing practice. Next week, they have preseason with the Chiefs on a Saturday game. So Wednesday's probably their practice before they fly out.
Here, Dan Campbell, 6'5", 265 pounds.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with him.
No, he's a big dude.
And I think the player, when you're coaching players, he was a player.
Yeah.
He is a physical man. He's big. I think they respect that. I got to imagine when you're this huge super athlete and you have some little guy who looks like he just sits on a couch all day telling you what to do to be successful, it's got to be hard to want to follow that.
I think it depends. I think it depends on if the person knows what's going. There's people that just know the sport and say, "Look, this is what I know works." Go from there. But what we've had though is these previous coaches that drive around in the little golf cart, stuff like that, and not doing as much. Campbell's like, no, I'm getting out there with you, and he does warm ups with them. He does stuff with them, and he gets in there and says, "No, this is how you do it," and he shows them how to do it. And I think that's what we needed here was, as he calls it, grit. We needed that grit coming in.
Well, even like in the preseason, I think it was last year, like he started very early with full contact practices where a lot of times they wait longer. And a lot of people, I feel like if I remember correctly, he got pushback from the original players. And he's like, no, this is what we're doing. You need to trust my vision. And it worked out. And it was that grit. He was instilling the grit he was changing the culture. I mean, we had a long culture in this team, and he turned it around. He really did. You got to give – that's not easy. Anything, whether it's a football team, a company, whenever you have a change in culture.
We had decades of the team really being run from the front office, not from the people on the field, not from even the general managers were just not doing the job right. I mean, we had the fire Millen years, and it was like, come on, he's got to go because he's doing worse than what the coaches are doing because he's controlling the coaches.
William Clay Ford Jr. He was too nice of a guy. Was that his name?
I think it was the third,
whichever it was.
Yeah,
he was too nice, and he was too loyal, and so like Millen was a great example of a huge failure that he even renewed the contract with him instead of firing him.
Yeah,
and but thankfully the new Ford, what's her name, Sheila.
Sheila. Yeah, Sheila Ford Hamp.
She wants, but she used to be an athlete too.
She did college. That's the big deal there. So it was just William Clay Ford. He was the senior because junior is Bill Ford. So it was just William Clay Ford. And there's a third. You get them confused between names the same, but Sheila.
She wants to be competitive. She wants to win, and she gave the proper power to the proper people and said, you have permission to do this.
Well, and that's the thing. She said that with Campbell. She was like, what can we do to win?
Mm-hmm.
And he basically laid it out for her. She said, okay, let's do that. I will back your play. And that's what we needed was we didn't need an owner telling them what to do or telling them they had to keep somebody because they feel like family to them. Mm-hmm. It's like, if it's not working, we got to get rid of them and go from there. And that's what the Lions did. They needed to basically do a firing from the top down and restructure, and that's what Campbell did. And it was rough that his first year because he lost the first 6 games.
Yeah,
but they weren't losing by much. You could see that he was building something, and when it took off from there, and they started winning, and then they come into the last year, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like it's just amazing to watch. It's fun.
One of the hardest things as an owner is you have to know where to step back and where to trust the people you hired. Mm-hmm. Like Dallas Cowboys, you have Jerry Jones, who is always micromanaging the whole entire operation, and it can be a nightmare.
Yeah,
because you end up filling.
That's part of the problem.
They are just yes men.
Well, that's part of the problem with the Dallas Cowboys is even if they start doing good, it's like they're not getting anywhere because Jerry Jones gets mad and says, "No, do this."
Right. He has to step back, let people do their job, and step in. If they're failing, that's when the owner steps in and says, "Okay, we're letting you go." And I feel like we have that combination now, the right owner with the right staff and the right balance of power to execute the vision. So we'll see where it goes this season, but it's looking good. It's going to be an exciting year.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what happens, and I get a chance to go next week. It'll be fun, and then I'll get a chance to report back to you guys on all that. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So that'll be neat.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than that, anything else, buddy?
That's it. We'll see what this week comes. Closings, a lot of real estate. Just the usual here, which is a good problem. Good problem to have is to be busy.
Yep. I'll let you know about being on next week if I'm going to be on, and if I'm not on, I'm pretty sure I won't be on the 20th because we're heading down to the 21st because we're heading down to Tampa.
All right.
The night of the 20th. We're getting an extra day in there, so we'll probably be up and doing stuff, getting ready for the show to load in on Thursday. So.
It's all good.
All right. Hey, I'll see y'all when I see you. Scott will probably see you next week for sure. We'll talk to you later. Bye.